Let's do it again. You ready, Shane? I think I scared a horse. Sorry. Best techniques in the world aren't going to work for your horse if you're missing out on a few ingredients. It's not number one, it's not about just the technique. It's about how you go about the technique. It's your attitude towards it. There's many things. I've seen people do the wrong technique for what they needed done, but it still worked for them because the horse figured it out and tried for them. I've seen other horses where the person is doing all the right moves, doing everything right, but the horse just doesn't want to do it for them. It'll come down to your emotion and how that affects your feel and your timing, your balance even. You know, if you're a bit afraid or you're getting a bit cranky, it'll tend to change your position and upset your rhythm. Those sorts of things. So we've really got to there's so many techniques out there, and there's some really good ones, and there's some ones that, you know, will get the job done, but don't really develop the horse physically really well. And mentally, you know, some of the techniques out there, some of them will break the horse and they'll lose their confidence. You'll knock the try out of them, as we say at Quantum Savvy. So you don't ever want to knock the try out of your horse, but at the same time you don't want to knock the try out of you. So, you know, try and reward something that's going the right direction, something that's working for you. Don't go straight for the whole goal up front. Yes, I know we want to, you know, achieve what we're focused on, but don't get over focused on it. You know, if you're out there and you're worried about all these people watching you, or it's really important that you do this task well, that's going to upset the way you feel, and your timing is going to work for your horse. Your feel and your timing are some of the most important things you could have when you're with your horse, but they won't work if your emotions get in the way. If you're getting cranky, that means upset in Australian terms, for those of you not from Australia. And you know, angry, impatient, frustrated, all those things, all those negative ones. Okay, actually it even works the other way. If you get a little bit too excited and you think, I've got this, and then that will mess it up too. So you've got to keep yourself, emotions aren't a bad thing, but keep them under control and know how they're influencing you. You know, you've got to have some emotion, that's for sure. But don't let it steer how your behaviour is going, how your feel and timing is going. Okay, so it's real important. Now, this is easy said, you know, control your emotions, be aware of them, that sort of stuff. But to get out there and do it, it's your patterns, your life patterns that have created the horseman you are. So if you find something's not working for you, don't keep changing horse trainers or keep changing horses or changing techniques trying to find the magic answer. There is no magic answer. If you're having the same problem with every horse, then, you know, you got to look at what your patterns are, your behavioural patterns. So this is, you know, it's more than just a 10-minute video for YouTube, but if I can just cause you or ask you to ask yourself, how can I change the way I'm doing things? How can I change the way I'm feeling? In one of my other videos, I talked about neural pathways and neuroplasticity and reprogramming yourself. So if you could be aware of something that's not working and try and change it, do it different. I remember when I was, it was really important that I learn rising trot very well. And I was always a little bit out. I was always wrong, my instructor said. And I thought, right, that's it. I'll try to be wrong then. And guess what? I was right. So sometimes you've got to do that, whatever works. So do the opposite of what you've been doing if it's been driving you crazy for a long time. But you need to change something and keep looking for that thing within yourself that needs to be changed. And generally it'll come back down to the way you're looking at things, the way you're looking at the situation, or the way your behaviour is, like your emotion and things like that. So, and what I mean by the way you're looking at it is what's the important part of the task you're doing? Is it just to do let's say flying lead changes, collected flying lead changes, to make it real interesting. A collected flying lead change to me is not about just getting them to skip through the air and swish their tail. Okay? As a matter of fact, that's totally not what I want. But, you know, people will do that and they'll get the fly change because they think that's the goal. But to me, a fly change, a collected fly change, would show how soft and supple your horse is in canter, because it should be, and how good the self-carriage is. So it should be a result of that. So if it's not working for you, don't look at, okay, my fly change isn't working. Look at it and say, well, my horse isn't soft enough in the canter here. It's getting claustrophobic, or it's getting on the forehand, or I'm getting uptight and getting all over the horse's forehand, or I'm pulling on the reins too much. All those sorts of things. See, a lot of people who go out there and cue train the fly change because they've missed the purpose of the softness through canter and collection. So that's just one example, but see what you can come up with. See, you know, I'm sure there's things that you see that you think people are missing the point on, you know, like getting your horse in a trailer, things like that. They think it's just getting on the trailer. It's about the horse trusting you enough to get into the box. So there's a lot of things like that. Maybe leave some in the comments there. Ones where people mistakenly over-focus on the task and then their attitude changes, okay? So, or their emotions in this case. All right, so I hope that helps you. I hope it helps you to look, to find where to look when you're trying to fix something. It's not about the technique, it's about the way you go about it. Something real important also when you've got a technique is you need some principles. Okay, you principles as a horseman. What would you do? What wouldn't you do? You know, some techniques you shouldn't just do. It's just wrong for your horse. It's too much control, too much force. So to help you choose techniques and maybe even help you with your focus, feel, emotions, all those things, is to stick to your principles and stick to them more than anything. And sometimes it's hard to get the technique working by sticking to the principles. It could be easier just to do a shortcut and tie something up on the horse and, you know, stop his head from popping up in the air, and there you go, problem solved. But that should be compromising your principles because you haven't given the horse any option. It's not the right thing to do to your horse. He's supposed to be your friend, or she. So, you know, do the right thing by them. So get some principles. I've got some I might share with you and see if they help you. So number one, the horse always number one, the horse learns by release, not by pressure. They'll do it from pressure, but they'll learn. The learning moment is when there's no pressure. It's in the release moment. It's in the give moment, not the take moment. Okay, so remember that one. If you finish a task and you've finished with pressure, you've just taught them to be heavy. Okay, so that's not something you want. So that was number one, release. Horse learns by release. Options. Give them options. Give them the option to disagree with you. And some of us don't like that, you know. But we can't talk to them. But if they don't do what we want, they're communicating with us. Okay. Either we haven't prepared them properly, or we've asked too much of them at one time. You know, or you've got a leadership issue. Sort your leadership out. But it doesn't mean take their options away, okay? So always give them an option. Tying them up, tying their heads down, tying their legs up to get on them is just, that doesn't give them an option, okay? That might work for a little while, but then, you know, later on that horse might get sold to somebody else and that can't handle that horse, and they'll get caught out, so avoid that. Release, options. Patterns. Run some patterns. Patterns are real important. Don't overdo the pattern till the horse goes like remote control. I talked about that in another video. So, you know, use your patterns to help the horse out, to give it some visual guides so they understand what you're on about. Really, cattle, moving cattle. I'm a bit of a fan. I grew up with cattle, so I think moving cattle with green horses is a great way to go. As a matter of fact, any horse. It's good fun for the horse, good exercise for the cow sometimes. It's good for the cattle to learn to be yielded and to move around. It's what they do naturally anyway, with each other, horses and cows. So cattle. So patterns, have a pattern. And also P stands for program. So program meaning everything that you do needs to have smaller steps to it to go to your goal. So your goal should always be able to be broken down into smaller steps. That becomes your program to achieve whatever you want to achieve. Okay, so that way, if you're up to where you're near your goal and you're finding that something's not working as good as it could, you could go back through your program, make sure all the ingredients are good to recombine to then achieve your goal. Okay. Also, if your horse loses confidence, so an example might be tying your horse up to a rail. Okay, so you to teach a horse to tie up, first of all they've got to lead. So you teach them to lead first, and then before you teach them to lead and put a halter on their head, you teach them to give to your hands. Before you teach them to give to your hands, can you rub them with your hands? So steps like that. So any time you're in your horsemanship and something goes wrong, which sometimes it does, and your horse loses confidence, or even you lose confidence, that you can break that back down into those smaller steps, start again if you have to, and build it back up again. You'll come through quicker the next time through anyway, so don't ever be worried about going back to come forward. Okay, so that's a program. Everything you do in your horsemanship, always make sure that you have a program to it, that it can all be broken down into smaller, more achievable bits. So if your horse pulls back and it loses its confidence about being tied up and never wants to be tied up again, which that happens to some of them, or you got bucked off because the horse got scared, whatever it is, you could break it back down into something more achievable, start again and build that horse's confidence, or yours, back up again to where that trust and that confidence is back there again. So always stick to your program. So that's a really important part of the P part of rope. So that's 3, R-O-P, and then E. So the way to remember this is rope. E is enjoyment. Have a bit of fun. Be more light-hearted when you're doing your task. Don't get so intense. You know, when we get intense, we start to focus down and curl up and get on the forehand, basically. And we tighten up in our body. So try not to get too intense. Enjoy yourself. You know, that's what you're out there for, working with your horse. It should be fun. And, you know, if it's your job, then even more important, to have fun while you're doing it. So if it's your hobby, definitely have fun. So enjoy yourself. R-O-P-E, rope. Okay, hopefully that helps you and you remember that. But use those to guide you with your techniques as well. Never compromise your principles. He's better this time. That was timing my audio to my video, by the way.